So, I may have broken everything again, but while fixing it I added some seriously cool stuff. A new language system, achievements that actually give rewards, an equipment system, and the massive performance boost. So let's go through it before my whole project crashes down again. Let's come to the biggest part first, the performance. So here's the deal, Unreal's Foliage system is meant to be interactive. It's built for performance, not for remembering which exact mushroom you picked at 3 AM. The issue is Foliage doesn't save individual instances. It's handled in a single actor, optimized for rendering, not logic. To fix that, I had to get a bit creative. When you harvest something, I replaced that Foliage instance with an actor version of it. It just moves to the location the foliage was in before. This was definitely easier said than done. When harvesting foliage, it now removes the instance, which isn't that hard since I got the direct reference of it. But it gets tricky when trying to save that, so it doesn't respawn when entering the game again. Unreal splits up the foliage in clusters, and each cluster contains some foliage. When loading up, I need to loop through all the clusters and get the foliage. Then I gotta compare the location of the deleted foliage instance to the foliage I got out of the clusters. If it matches, it removes it. That simple. That would be very bad to do with a giant open world or mid-game, but you can easily hide that behind the loading screen to not cause any stutters mid-game. Also, when using a lot of loops, you should use C++ instead of blueprints, since it's way faster, but that can wait for now. That still sounds simple to say, but I aged at least 5 years getting my head around it, since there's basically no info about it anywhere. There's a couple of tutorials that work with a bit of foliage, so it's only one cluster, or it works for the editor, but not for Steam, since there's a lot of differences between the editor and the Steam version. But yeah, that's my workaround for now. If you have any better solutions, please tell me in the comments. Alright, that saved a lot of performance already, since I don't need to use actors anymore, only for the short amount of time that I look at foliage, and then it goes back to being foliage. What else? I cleaned up a lot of blueprints and removed hard references, which doesn't necessarily mean it's faster in-game, but compile time in editor is definitely 100 times faster. Let's, for example, take a crafting bench. We're not gonna do it in an optimal way, but it's easier to understand that way. When I access the crafting bench, it creates UI that holds a reference of the bench. In this main UI, I also want to have buttons that I can press so I can craft items. Now the button contains a reference of the crafting bench from the main UI. I could need it in the button to remove the UI, for example, when I finish crafting. As I said, nothing new would do, but it's easier to understand. That way we already have 3 references in the crafting bench blueprint. If I now compile it, it needs to compile all 3 blueprints or widgets, which takes a lot of time. Now think of something that has 50 references. Yes, really bad. So to remove the need of hard references, you can use the actor variable, since the actor class is always loaded in anyways, and use a blueprint interface to return the actor itself. Just as a little reminder, the Steam page is up already down in the description, right above the Discord invite link, where you stay up to date about playtests or all sorts of other stuff. I would be happy to see you stopping by, but now let's continue. I've been wanting to add language support for a while, and it's finally in. You can change languages, for now English and German, instantly, and everything updates. Menus, dialogues, tooltips, and voices that are to come later on. Also, yes, there's an achievement with a reward for switching to German once. Languages aren't too hard to set up in Unreal, but it's still a pain, like in any other program, to grab each text and translate it. Alright, let's go over the achievements, a very important part of the game. Achievements are something I always wanted, but not the boring kind. These ones actually give rewards, like items or cosmetics. You can view progress anytime, and when you hit a goal, you can collect your prize straight from the menu. This was very important to me, because one thing I do in most games is hunting achievements, and it's even better if you get something in return for caring to collect them. It's pretty rare that games actually do that. One of the few examples I know of is World of Warcraft. Eunoia will be a single player game with no plans of adding multiplayer yet, but wouldn't it still be cool to get a skin for the entire cave after completing an achievement you worked a while for? Next up, the equipment system. You can now finally equip tools with each one having a little animation when using it, so you at least have some feedback when hitting an object. It also loads back up the last used equipment when coming back into the game. That was the main changes of this update. In the next devlog, expect to see some big changes to the trader and general quality of life things. I'm trying my best to get a devlog out each month to keep you guys updated, and don't forget, if you haven't already, wishlist Eunoia on Steam and join the community Discord. You can find all the infos about it in the description.